And then the third category is dismissive, right? Often these
Mhm.
folks, I mean, they end up in relationships, but they're not aware that there's some anxiety there. They don't necessarily even feel the anxiety. They're somewhat dismissive about their attachment needs or their relationship needs. They're, dismissive of their partner's attachment needs or relationship needs. And each of these types kind of organizes in a certain way, right? So the ways that we would describe each of these types of insecure attachment, they're kind of organized under that. The fourth one of the insecure attachment is the disorganized, which is a little bit of everything. And, usually what I've read is the attachment disruption was so severe that it didn't even organize into one of the insecure attachments.
That's
But
interesting.
I'm interested to learn what you read when you looked it
Yeah.
up.
So, well, I had a client take a quiz online because that's how most of these things
Yeah,
starts.
yeah.
And then, Rachel jumps in a Google rabbit hole. And they ended up disorganized. And so I was looking at their scores, and it was in the fearful avoidant quadrant.
Okay.
And so I started like looking at like their description, and what they kind of say is like for the disorganized person, not it's not always beneficial to avoid the situation, but they will choose to avoid like bigger situations and preoccupy about lower risk situations. And
Okay.
so that's when it becomes a disorganized one. That's when they're going with disorganized in this, is that like they're really fluctuating between like I avoid at all cost and I preoccupy about everything. So they're
Okay.
kind of like splitting it, like it would be like that upper part of the fearful avoidant
Okay.
quadrant,
Closer to the
closer
preoccupied.
to the preoccupied, but not all the way into it that
Uh
we are
huh.
like hyper fixating all the time.
Okay.
But it oscillates between the like I'm preoccupying and I'm going to actively address this thing so that I don't have to actively address this thing.
Okay.
And then sometimes they'll get like preoccupied in their head, but they won't actively address it out loud.
Mm.
And so like the bigger it gets in their head, the more avoidant they become about it, which would be different than how like